I appreciate
that.
that.
You hit stop and play. Don't you have to download it, honey?
No, only when we switch from remote to this. But we're good whenever you want to.
Okay, so I can go?
Yeah.
All right.
This is Table Talk, the bonus episode for Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous comedy cellar. This is Dan Naturman, host of Table Talk, with my co-host of Table Talk, Periel Aschenbrand.
Hello.
And we are blessed to be joined by Noam Dworman, the co-host of Live from the Table, or the main host, or whatever you want to qualify him.
Hello, Dan.
And Jason Salmon, who was our guest for Live from the Table, and he has a new special out. We'll plug it once again. Biscuits and Gravity, coming out on YouTube. We discuss. First of all, the bonus episode tends to focus more on comedy, than the main episode, and more focuses on personal stuff. Now, Periel and I did a show in Scarsdale on Saturday. The Periel's producing a show. Periel's branching out, and she's producing a show at a restaurant in Scarsdale. Is that correct, Periel?
Yeah, it's like they have a little room off of a restaurant that they use for all sorts of things, and they asked me if I wanted to start. They actually want me to do 2 shows a month, but I said, let's try 1.
It's a very small one, like 45 people.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make any money, but you make a few bucks, and if you do 2 shows, you can make a few more bucks.
Yeah. And I picked Dan up at the train station.
Right. How much cover charge you charge?
$25.
And what's interesting is that Scarsdale's very close to the city, but there's a market for people who just don't feel like coming to the city.
Yeah.
But they do want to see stand-up comedy. So as close as Scarsdale is, these people were happy to, I guess, have some place that's right around the corner.
People out there, they'll pay more than 25. Some of the clubs charge more than 25
That's
now.
okay. I'm not trying to be greedy about it. It's nice it's convenient, and it's a really fun room, and there really is like a great demand for it.
How did Dan do?
Oh my God, he killed.
Oh.
He was so funny, and they just loved him.
I'm not going to lie. If somebody said, who are the Scarsdale comics in the city, I'd be Dan Natterman.
Well, they tend to be upscale and Jewish, I think.
I think it was Jewish, but there was also Italian people in the room.
But what's interesting, by sheer coincidence, Noam was talking on the main show about how one fine day in the late 70s or early 80s, you weren't allowed to call Asians Orientals anymore. You had to call them Asians. Now, I have a joke, me, but this is the bonus episode. We do a lot of me here. I have a joke from my book, I Respiro Before COVID, available on Amazon. In my book, there's an Asian character that does a joke about how white people love to adopt Asians, and that she knew an Asian in school that was adopted by Jews, and he said, "Don't call me a chink, you fakakta schmuck." Okay, so it's an Asian character in the book saying that. Now, I felt that I couldn't say that. Now, I wanted to figure out how I could adapt that joke to my act, but felt, and I think rightly so, that saying chink out of my mouth would be so harsh that it would kill the joke.
I think you got to start out by saying, by the way, I'm doing an impersonation, just in your voice, I'm doing an impersonation of that Asian person right now.
I found a better idea.
Yeah?
I found a better idea. I changed the joke, and, the joke is actually better this way anyway. If I had to rewrite the book, I would put it this way in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I said, a lot of white people adopt Asians. I knew a Korean guy named Jason Horowitz back in school, and he said to me, "I'm Asian, not Oriental, you fakakta schmuck." So I completely made it
That's good.
much more palatable.
Now, since this is personal about comedy, obviously we talked a little bit about depression in the first hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dan protested too much. So Dan, spill it.
Well, I've had my issues, but also I am also learned about it. Gary Gulman famously had a special called The Great Depression, where he discussed his battle and his use, I believe, of electroconvulsive therapy. But I know what it is to be depressed. Yes, I do.
So it bothers you. You take umbrage when people talk about this stuff because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I don't know if I
right?
take umbrage. I take jealousy.
Yeah, but when I was talking about like Bruce Springsteen's upset about his life, he should buck up. You're like, you're as angry about that as I've ever seen you angry about anything. Like that really bothered you. Because, like, he
I'm
doesn't.
angry
The
'cause
bubble
I-
over his head is like Noam doesn't know what the fuck he's talking
and
about.
my anger is that I'm jealous, insanely jealous of anybody that's that clueless about depression. God bless you. God bless you for being that clueless about it.
Yeah, but you're not being quite fair to me because I immediately cordoned off the idea that if he actually has a clinical disease, that's different. I'm saying that there are other people then who just become enamored with themselves and the attention they get and solicitousness.
I don't know about that.
Have you?
I don't know what you're saying is valid, that there's people out there just saying, woe is me. I mean, maybe.
Have you been in therapy a lot?
What do you think?
I don't. I assume. I don't know.
I have been.
Anybody I talk to in comedy, by the way, I assume has been in. Therapy.
Have you been in therapy?
I haven't.
Me
no.
Well, it
here's the
shows.
thing.
No,
but here's
Noam doesn't believe in
one
it.
of the things that I learned way back when trying to figure out some youth pastor in our church didn't know anything about the Bible, so he's like, I'm going to teach these kids about temperaments and the melancholic temperament. Like there's 4 basic temperaments. One's phlegmatic, which is laid back, which is basically me. Melancholic, which is artistic, which is either sad or yeah, I think it was originally they had to change it from Jewy to melancholic.
The pastor.
But yeah, no, where I was, Jewy was acceptable, but I call it melancholic now when I recap. But then the sanguine is the very sort of social person, and then there's the choleric, which is the driven type A. And people who are melancholic tend to have these huge artistic capabilities, these huge drives to be artistic, but also on the flip side tend to be so just go into these huge depressions because there's this chemical makeup of their persona. I don't even know if it's chemical, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Well, clinical depression is certainly chemical.
Right. But I think
Well, look, I
think
mean,
there, some
arguably
of it,
everything is chemical.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it is all chemical.
I mean,
but
we're atoms and molecules. We're a chemistry set. Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, I have in every situation that I've analyzed using that thing, it always seems to make sense. Like it fits one of those things.
What type are you? Sclerotic?
Phlegmatic.
Phlegmatic.
What does that mean?
That is the
Phlegmy.
plus
Easy going.
side is laid back, the downside is lazy. So that's me. That's my primary. Now, the only one I don't have is choleric. I'm not driven.
Yeah.
What
What do you think the best formula is? Not for artistic brilliance, but for success in show business.
Driven is a huge part because you got to market like crazy. Sanguine is probably pretty good because
Which one's sanguine again?
Sanguine is social. So glad handing people and marketing and doing that, like especially in show business, being able to do that, and also it makes you more apt to like want to perform, to like have that. Like I could be very comfortable just writing stuff, as opposed to performing for stretches of time, where some people can't not perform.
What if I offered you your career, whatever your biggest
I'll
career,
take it.
whatever your
This
biggest
is-
career goal is. I don't know what
Yeah.
that would. What is your biggest career goal?
My biggest
As
career
long as
goal
we're on the
would be to have my own sitcom.
I'm going to offer you that.
All right.
I'm going to offer
I'll
you
take it.
that. Well, I haven't. Those aren't
This
all the
is why
terms.
I'm bad at negotiating.
First of all, those I could have just said, but you're going to die in 5 years. I haven't finished the offer yet.
Nor have you said something that's turned me off to it.
I'm going to give you the career of your
Okay.
dreams. You're going to be 15% objective, to the extent that we can be objective, less funny, less respected by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's to the extent that we can be objective about that. You're going to be less funny.
Okay.
Your peers are going to be like, oh, God, he's doing the Spirit Airlines joke again. I mean,
Which is, by the way, full disclosure, one of my jokes.
do you have a Spirit
I
Airlines
do.
joke?
I do, but I
Sorry,
take the flip
But-
side. I talk about how much I like Spirit
Okay,
Airlines.
well, that's valid then. Okay,
Yeah.
I mentioned Spirit Airlines too in one of my jokes.
I'm
It's
a huge fan
Not
of
a
Spirit
Spirit Airline joke, but I do mention. Spirit.
Okay. What's the other part of this? So you're.
That's it. But you get
here's
the
the
fame
thing.
and the
Yeah.
fortune.
I zoned out for 1 second. I came back here. I was talking about Spirit Airlines. Like,
You know what? Spirit's not so bad. I've used them to go to Las Vegas, and you play your cards right. It's not a bad.
Spirit
Not a
Airlines
bad
is the
experience.
socialism of airlines. I
You pay a little extra, you get a big seat
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah.
So horrible.
But everybody knows exactly how much you paid. It's what it is. It's very much socialism airlines.
Why does everyone know exactly how much you paid?
Because it's
on the back
because
of your seat?
no, it is. I mean, you know that these seats cost this much. These seats cost this much. These seats cost this much.
You know that on a regular airline too.
No, on a regular airline, I could be sitting right next to somebody who paid.
Well, it's
way
also
less.
about
Oh, right.
when they booked it. So
Yeah.
I-
On Spirit, it's not that. The seats are always that. Now, the base charge is when you book it. It could be really cheap, but Spirit,
Like
they've saved my life so many times with just little things that have happened. Like one time I forgot I had been doing one-way flights because that was cheaper for a stretch, and I forgot to book a flight back, and I realized that when I landed, and it was just for doing a club for a weekend, and I found a Spirit flight for $100 to get back to New York, and I was like, "This is great," from Dallas. So yeah,
It sounds unsafe. Is it
it's
safe?
not unsafe.
It has a safety record. You ever hear of a Spirit Airlines crash?
Oh,
Knock on
the
wood.
sample size is probably.
Well, here's the
No,
thing.
that's a big fucking airline.
No,
They got like
it is. It
100
actually
fucking. Their fleet
I will
is
tell you this:
huge.
I've flown them a ton from New York to Dallas, and they have
Never screwed you
never screwed me over.
Right.
Not
well,
one
they're
time.
also not
Delta
sponsoring us
Delta
yet.
has, American has, United has. All of those have screwed me over. Spirit has not. Now it is a no frills airline, so it is. But it's like all I do on a plane is work anyway, so I don't care to take a nap. So if my chair doesn't lean back, which they don't on Spirit,
None of the chairs lean back.
right? Exactly, and that is if you want a chair that leans back, don't fly Spirit. Absolutely,
It's a Greyhound bus.
but
in
for
the air.
me, it really
Why
is.
do none of the chairs lean
By
back?
the way, their fleet size is 194.
Well,
This is a substantial
To be fair,
operation that they're running.
to be
Now,
fair,
how big do you think the fleet size of American Airlines?
Hold on, Dad. Why don't the chairs lean back?
I don't know, but I will tell you, I see the logic in it. And because when you are in front of me leaning back your chair, I am subject to whatever happens. If I had my computer there, I almost had my computer like slammed down on when a guy like leaned the chair back in front of me. Just randomly, like we had been on the plane for 2 hours, and he just suddenly decided he was going to lean his chair back.
But the tables like they stay straight, don't they?
No, they don't. No, those are. I mean, the
It's
chairs.
2023. We have engineering.
No, we do have engineering. But that costs money, and that's not what the airlines want to spend. Everybody wants to spend the least amount of money to make the most amount of money. That's what everybody's doing. And the middle seat.
You sound like Kanye now.
By the way,
Well, I will take that. I will take that.
They have 194 planes on Spirit. JetBlue, how many would you guess JetBlue has?
326.
284 with 142 on order. So, smaller than JetBlue, but a substantial operation.
Solid operation.
In any case, would you take the offer? That you
I
are-
would. I have spent most of my time in comedy being funny and respected and unsuccessful. So
had it. You've had
I
enough.
will. Yeah, I'm
Had
like,
enough.
I feel like I've gotten a solid handle on what that's.
How disrespected would you be willing to go? Would you be willing to be
I
a
don't
complete ass clown of the comedy community, but a but a very wealthy one?
Now that you've used the scientific jargon of ass clown, that brings it to a whole other level. No, I mean, there's a point at which I would say no. I mean, I don't like doing stuff that I feel like. So it
Well,
would,
you wouldn't. You
it would
wouldn't-
bother me viscerally some, but
Do you make most of your money off acting now or off stand-up, or it's about half and half?
until the pandemic hit, I made most of it on acting. Stand up is probably 60% of it now.
Would you prefer what kind of mix would be your ideal mix?
I mean, acting, you don't have to do as much work to make way more money.
It depends.
Unless you're at the level like where you're doing
if you're getting
arenas.
a
But if
day-
I'm doing arenas, I also don't want to. I'd love to do an arena, but I've talked to. I mean, being at the Cellar, you talk to so many comics who've done arenas, and they're like, do theaters. They're like arenas are great for the money. Theaters are like the best stand-up experience.
Yes, I think
the
so.
pinnacle of the
I
stand-up.
think so. But if you want to make a quick $1 million, you go to an arena.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, if it were all about making a quick $1 million, of course I'd do an arena. But yeah, I mean,
Acting doesn't necessarily make a lot of money. If you do day rolls,
I'll tell you,
a day roll at
commercial act-
scale for $1,000 a day, or maybe $2,000 a day.
Right. Well, I will tell you, acting on TV shows hasn't made me nearly as much money. I mean, it's still making me money. I got a check from 30 Rock the other day, that's been off the air for a decade, right? I don't know. But acting in commercials, there was a stretch of time where I was the spokesperson for Napa Auto Parts, and I was getting checks every 2 weeks, like I worked at an office job, and they were insane. They're just money just rolling in, and that was nice. That was
I never had that.
It was
As I
nice
said,
to have the regularity of that. That would be real nice. Be real nice to be Lily from AT&T or Flo from Progressive.
Flo, yeah, she's close.
But do you think? But Flo from Progressive, if you were
She's got a contract.
at a certain point
yeah.
in commercial acting, I think your stand-up might. I don't know if it would suffer. I guess if you're a funny stand-up, they can't take it away from you, but they might so associate you with that character.
You know what's funny is stand-up is one of the few things where you can escape that.
Yeah.
You really can. I mean, I will say.
Okay, is there an example of somebody who's escaped that?
I'm trying to think. If I don't know,
Ray Romano.
He was never a big commercial.
I would
What
say
do you mean? He had
like
his- wasn't that show Wild?
No, I mean I'm talking about like a spokesperson for like your Flo from
Oh,
Progressive,
oh,
or your Where's the
I think
Beef,
an
or your
actor.
Joe Azuzu, or you're the most interesting man in the world from Dos
There it
Equis.
is. Right.
And you become so associated with that character that you.
I'm trying to think of how many of those characters were comedians. Most of them
they
weren't.
weren't comedians.
Most of them weren't.
What
yeah.
about
Flo?
Mr. Whipple. Mr. Whipple was a good one.
Was it?
Was he? Was he?
You know
did he?
Mr. Whipple?
Is that?
Please don't squeeze the Charmin.
Oh, okay. I was thinking donuts, but yeah.
No, the time to make the
Charmin.
donut
Okay,
guy.
okay.
You're thinking about the Breakstone Cottage cheese guy, but he was also the donuts guy.
Oh, was he? All right.
Yeah, the same actor.
Breakstone.
Sam Breakstone, and the commercial for the Breakstone Cottage cheese was the same guy that made the donuts, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, the greatest thing would be to have an anonymous commercial career but constant.
Well, voiceover is
voiceovers. I mean, McSpadden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
was gonna
I mean,
say-
well, we had him on a couple of weeks ago, but his voiceover career is not what it used to be.
no, that's the
Because
difference.
nobody's is.
Yeah, yeah.
How about that fast-talking guy, the guy from Federal Express, Pittsburgh?
Oh, that's going, but yeah, I don't.
guy
That's
was
going
awesome.
back a long time,
That's
but yeah.
amazing.
Can we talk about Richard Lewis?
Yes, that's good that you brought that up. I mean, that's
he has
good.
depression, right?
Oh yeah.
Probably,
Oh,
but
for-
more importantly, and more sadly, he's announced on Twitter that he is retiring from stand-up because he has Parkinson's disease.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
Well,
He seems in good spirits in the video that he made. He said, I got it late in life. You know, he's 75. I mean,
yeah.
you don't live forever. I mean, 75.
Well, the good thing about Parkinson's too is
Takes a long time.
If you
Yeah.
get and you can extend, like the first part of Parkinson's is where you're starting to get the symptoms, but you don't get into the shaking part. But you can extend that part conceivably to the end of your life.
Right, especially when you get it late in life, it's
Yeah.
very slow progressive.
So, you know, he could certainly live till 90.
hmm
I
I love him.
And
first of
I mean,
all.
nobody lives forever. Although, you know, as sad as it is to think about,
Yeah.
you know.
He said he's been doing stand up for 50 years.
Well, 50 plus. Yeah,
Wow.
50. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess 50 since he was in his mid-20s. Okay.
And he said he's very excited because the next season of Curb Your Enthusiasm is coming out. He seems like he's still working, but just that.
Yeah, just not doing stand-up.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Where are you
Let's talk
going?
about death. I'm meeting a friend downstairs.
Good. Look, have we successfully depressed you? Snap out of it.
I hope suicide doesn't kill me.
Well, snap out of it. Just buck up.
Suicide is predatory now.
Although,
Do you have anything more to add about Richard? Is that
No, I just wanted to acknowledge it just because I love him a lot. I will say this too, and I usually don't agree with Noam, but in this, there is one thing. If you have been close to somebody who has died by suicide,
And by the way, Noam has.
right, he has.
Yeah, a very close friend died by suicide.
Yes. And I also have some people who were extremely close to me who also died by suicide. That phrasing it that way doesn't
Did we discuss that in the bonus episode for
No.
people who didn't listen to the main episode? There was a person who wrote an article that's saying saying committed suicide, we should change it to died by suicide because it makes it sound like the person was more of a passive victim of mental illness rather than doing something, committing a
Selfish.
crime or doing something selfish anyway. So
And for more empathy for the victim. But it doesn't take away the horror of it, right? Like, I have somebody very close to me who shot themselves in the head and somebody else who hung themselves. And
He was shot themselves or was shot by suicide? I don't know. I'm being flippant. It's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous.
And your friend, I think, jumped off a bridge. Is that right?
That's correct.
Depression knocked him off.
I mean, no was being flippant, but
I'm sort of being flippant. I'm making a point like
But he's being flippant about his own story.
You can
which
take
is
this logic
allowed.
to almost every
Right.
sentence.
No, but I'm
yeah,
actually
yeah.
agreeing with you
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now that it
yeah.
doesn't change how fucking
doesn't change
horrible
and it may or
is.
may not
And just
change.
to
And it
clarify-
may or may not change people's perceptions. But it might start a dialogue, and it might change
Well,
people's
the
perceptions.
difficulty is words are the easiest things
Right.
for people to latch onto as the problem because that's the one thing we can all see and go, well, what if we just change this word? But that doesn't generally.
It's
No,
a
People are
horrible-
real good at.
It's a
Cleaning
horrible
the
way to
surfaces.
die. Not, however you phrase it doesn't take away how horrible
A
it is.
better understanding of mental illness, and this applies more than just to suicide, because suicide is a small subset of the people who are dealing with mental illness and like the ultimate bad outcome of it. But there's a tremendous number of people who are dealing with mental illness, and it's good that we talk about it. It's good that we know about it.
Yeah.
It sounds very progressive of you.
Well, I never said anything to the contrary. It's just this obsession with
Words.
sentence construction. I think is asinine, and I think it's really.
Well, I don't know if it's
designed
an obsession. It's
I just want to be corrected. I'm talking about my friend commits.
well, if somebody
Died by
corrects you,
suicide.
if somebody corrects you and takes that tone, I would disagree with them.
Yeah.
All right?
if
So
you-
I'm on your side.
Well, I'm
if
the
you're
one.
sent-
on the other hand, it's food for thought in terms of how we want to phrase it.
I'm the one who corrected you, and I don't think I said it like that.
That's the way I hear it when you talk.
Okay.
Anyway, we discussed. Have we done a half hour yet?
No, we've got a few more
I
minutes.
have
Time
go.
flies
Okay.
with you.
Well,
folks.
well, Noam has to go. Noam, we thank you for sticking around. Noam's been sticking around lately on the bonus episode.
He's sticking around. Bye.
But
Say any, man.
Jason, you are aware, we discuss this every week, that Noam bought the McDonald's on 6th Avenue.
I am aware of that. Yes,
So
I've heard.
the
I've
Comedy
heard
Cellar will
tell.
be do you do the Vegas Comedy Cellar?
I have not. I have not done the Vegas one.
Now, Noam's not here, so you can be truthful. Why
Yeah.
don't you do the Vegas? It's been a long week, and the hotel is so-so. And
No, it's not that specifically. With all the stuff with the special, I've been traveling as it was. So like it's one of those things where I just have to put in.
would you do the Vegas room?
Yeah, I would do it. Look, I'm not at the point where I wouldn't do a lot of rooms. I don't.
Are
I mean,
you
what-
excited about
I would
your
do it once. I
special?
might, you know.
I mean, I feel like we have
Well,
not.
yeah,
Really...
we discussed it on the main episode.
Ah,
This is the bonus episode.
okay.
Now, as far as Vegas is concerned, look, it's a long week. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah,
And those walls close in.
yeah,
And let me tell you something. You're not even on the Strip.
yeah.
So you're like at the Rio Hotel, which is off the Strip. So
It's a little.
if you're not there with people that you know,
Yeah.
or that people that you know happen to be in
Yeah.
town that week in Vegas, it can be difficult.
Here's the thing with my temperament.
So not everybody. It's not for everybody. You'd make
not.
more money headlining, say Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Laugh Factory in Vegas.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, my thing with my temperament, I can get. You're not going to tell me that isolation and walls closing in is
Okay.
going to bother. That's
that
not
doesn't
going to
bother
bother me.
Okay, you got the
No.
phlegmatic.
I have that.
With-
I have
with
that
some
thing.
sen-
My parents couldn't put me in timeout
Yeah.
as punishment.
You loved it.
Oh, they would come. They're like, you're done, and I'm like, I'm not yet.
You're
I'll-
like
I'll be
Brooks.
with you.
You're like Brooks from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
You didn't want
yeah.
to leave.
I'm like, I got some stuff I'm taking care of. I'll be with you guys
You're
in
an
a little bit.
institution man now.
There's
but-
stuff, but see, also,
yeah, some people
there's
can be
stuff-
alone in a hotel room all day long, and they make a.
But you don't have
they
to
make
be
it work.
alone.
What?
This is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have to be alone in the hotel room all day. You can-
Hookers ain't cheap, you know.
Well, but sometimes you invest in a good time,
In
right?
Vegas.
No,
you
but
can
so
get
what
coupons.
were you suggesting in lieu of being alone in a hotel room?
Well, hookers is one suggestion.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
wrong with that.
Well, you know,
Sex workers, excuse me.
That's not going to. I mean, unless you're willing to spend a lot more money than you're even making out there.
And then there's plenty of stuff to do there. Like you can go into.
Yeah, but if you're not with somebody, that you'll be doing it by yourself.
How many days are you going for? Is there like 4 days?
You go 7 when you go.
7, you go
Yeah,
7,
yeah.
7
7,
Okay.
yeah. You go a full 7. So it's not for everybody. And
Yeah.
a lot of people won't do it because for the same money, they could just headline
Right.
3 nights.
Right.
Now, a guy like me who doesn't like the headline because I get stressed out,
Do you?
I'd rather do commercials.
Yeah.
I'm quite frankly jealous of your commercial
Thank you.
career.
Thank you.
I get stressed and nervous when I headline, and so we're doing 20-minute sets in Vegas for me, even though it's longer, is more appealing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because you don't love going for a week,
No,
or
I
you
don't
don't
love going
even
for a
really
week.
like it. So is the stress of headlining a little bit
It's
like
worse.
It's
worse.
worse?
I don't like doing 2 shows a night.
Yeah.
right?
I really don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
I just don't like it.
Okay, but that
I get panicky.
Okay, but if you delved into that a
Well,
little
we
bit,
could do
you
that.
would get less
Maybe
panicky.
we could. One could. Yeah, one
Just
could.
to say, I
do-
don't like it, it makes me panicky, and then to shut it down isn't going to help deconstruct it.
Well,
and perhaps,
but I've been able to do other things. I've been able to have a career doing one-nighters at country clubs and corporates
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
So I've
but
been
that also
had-
stresses you out.
we had less so, much less so. But had that not been available to me, I don't know. Maybe I'd be out of the business.
It's weird. I have the opposite feel. I get more stressed out when it's a one-nighter because you have to figure out your audience and perform all in one shot. And like I find that over the weekend I get warmed up to the whole process a little more. So in the last night of the weekend is usually one of my favorite nights. of the week.
I agree with you. It was the first time I ever did that because I'm, much more new than you gentlemen are. But I, for the first time, did 4 or 5 shows I just opening for Modi, and I totally vibed on that. It's like, you first figure out the room, and then you have like 4 more shows or 5 more shows to like actually like get into the groove.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I'm not asking just to like, ask of why you don't like doing 2 shows. Because to me, it's
because I don't like doing a show where in my mind I've got another show coming up. I want to do a show knowing that this is it.
And what if you do really well on the first show, which I would say.
Then I'll feel better. But I got to get through that show within my head. I'm thinking about the next show.
So you have a hard time separating the next show.
Yes, I have a hard
from the
time
first show.
separating the next show.
Interesting.
And what if they're like Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Same thing?
If it's 1-1-1,
But yeah.
well, then it's doable.
But why? You're still thinking about the next
No,
show.
because for some reason when it's the next day, I can
You wipe the slate
I can
clean.
shut it off.
Well, the good thing about sleep is it literally is sort of etch-a-sketching you a little bit. It's sort of saying, okay, we're going to organize all these things. We're going to clean up this mess that you've made in your head over the course of the day. And we're going to clean it up. We're going to and you're going to wake up in the morning and you go,
yeah,
everything's so fresh.
Oftentimes
that's
is the case.
interesting. So Thursday, Friday,
Well, I've
Saturday.
done it. I've done it
You've
two
done
in
it
one
all.
evening, but there came a point where I just like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Ultimately, I think that some level, you have to do stuff periodically that's not your favorite things to do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you can maneuver where you're making your life.
although that
certain level of
Napa
happy.
spokesman gig sounds very, very good.
Although I had to do the things, I had to sing, I had
Okay, I like to sing.
I had to do all sorts of stuff. I had to fake play guitar. I had to do all sorts of wild, crazy stuff. But it was good. But that's the whole thing.
Anyway, you're special once again. Biscuits and Gravity.
Yes.
Available
April
on-
27th.
On
April
YouTube,
27th
as of
will be on
April
YouTube. Is
27th.
dropping. That's a
Yes,
word.
dropping.
Is the word that we use now because words do evolve as we've
They
discussed.
do.
Thank you, Jason, for being with us, not just
Thanks
on
for
the
having me.
main podcast, but on the bonus episode. Thank you, Periel.
Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.